If you've been hiding under a rock all evening and all night, let me bring you up to speed with what's just happened. We've got the champions of IPL 2024, none other than the most deserving team all tournament. The Kolkata Knight Riders have convincingly beaten the Sunrisers Hyderabad. Sarvesh, the two best teams played the final. The most deserving team won. Everyone's happy at the end of the day. Your first thoughts on the result of IPL 2024?
Yes, team finishing first and second playing in the finals. It was, I think, and after that, team finishing first, and basically KKR dominated the entire season. It looked like KKR are the team to defeat, and at the end also in the finals also they did just exactly that. The season started with KKR and SRH playing in a close encounter, and the season finished. And even in that game, KKR were victorious, and in this game as well, KKR actually KKR won this game again. So I think no complaints, like you said. In my opinion, KKR was one team they thoroughly deserved this. They were outstanding throughout the tournament, and this result is basically the outcome of the domination that they have shown for the entire season.
Yeah, the final itself, though, not worthy of a final.
Yeah,
When you think about finals of tournaments, um, i- people have this thing in their mind that it's going to be exciting, it's going to be, nail biting, it's going to be a thriller. Um, but sometimes you get finals like this,
yeah,
which are completely one-sided. And to some extent, I think I'm not very surprised by this because if you look at both the sides, the styles of play of both sides very similar, but obviously KKR with a lot more bases covered than Sunrisers, and just on a given day, man for man, just proving to be that much stronger.
yeah. I mean, KKR was these settled bowling unit, the most settled bowling unit. I think they are a team with I think least amount of bowlers used this season. I think they are first or second in that list. So basically they knew what they had to do. They had their roles cut out for everyone. They know which bowlers to use, which bowlers are going to play. When the season started, it didn't start well for Mitchell Stark, and people were saying that uh, basically they have spent 25 crores on him and he's not giving them any output. They should drop him. They should play Chamira. They should play someone else, and all those talks. And now let's go to 2023 auction. I think it was uh, 2022 auction. I think. So when SRH they released Nicholas Puran, and then when LSG actually bought Nicholas Puran in from that auction, from that not mega auction, the one after that. So after in that auction, they bought him for somewhere close to 9-10. I think I don't remember the exact price, but it was they bought him for a very high price, and people were asking
Yeah.
questions to Gambhir that why have you spent so much on Nicholas Puran, and he said that there is no other batter basically who is available at the moment and who is better than Nicholas Puran, particularly in those positions. So he knew what he was doing, and now look at 2 years down the line. Look what Nicholas Puran has become. He's one of the most dangerous batters around the world. And I think now again, let's come back to this season. They spent 25 crores because they knew they had a specific rule in mind for Mitchell Stark. They knew that he's going to play all the games, irrespective of his form, irrespective of what is happening with the other bowlers. I think so. That's the clarity that they had with him, and I think by the end of the tournament, we saw the real Mitchell Stark, which we were missing in the league stages earlier. And I think now we realize that the importance of backing your players. So I think overall man management wise, tactical decision, everything, it just went perfectly for KKR.
Yeah, I mean that delivery to kick
Yeah,
off this game that he bowled to Abhishek Sharma. Now, don't get me wrong, Abhishek Sharma is in the form of his life, so it needed a special
yeah,
delivery to get him out. This ball, though, high speed, shapes in, pitches, moves away at the last moment, and it's not swing that beats you; it's that late swing
yeah,
that beats you, and just squaring him up completely, hitting exactly the top
top,
of off
yeah.
stump. This is what you want as a fast bowler. If you're running in hard with a new ball, you want to aim to be hitting top of off stump, and beautiful, beautiful. Like it's taken the last game of IPL 2024, but it wouldn't be wrong in saying that we've seen the ball of the season.
Yeah.
Um, it's just a brilliant delivery.
Yeah. ball of the season in the final. I think I completely agree with that. Uh, because Abhishek he didn't do much. I mean, it was not his fault exactly, but because he was covering the line and he almost covered the line, but that late swing and that swing was like, I mean, I think many batters would have been dismissed by that delivery. It was just that special delivery that Stark came up with in the finals. And I think from that delivery, he sort of made that statement that KKR are here to dominate in that final. And I think after that wicket, I think SRH never recovered. So that's the story for me. They never recovered. They could never come back. And wickets are falling after that as well. I mean, Travis had that wicket as well. It was delivery moving away, and Rahul Tripathi. I think after those 2-3 wickets, I think SRH were behind by like too many.
Um, Question for you is: would Australia be happy with Mitchell Starc finding form at the right time before the T20 World Cup,
Yeah.
or would they be concerned about Travis Head losing form at the wrong time just before the start of the T20 World Cup?
I mean, Travis Head is one player. I think they can back him. He can come alive at any moment. So he's that kind of a player because nobody was expecting him to play that kind of an innings in the WTC final, in World Cup final, but he still delivered that. So I think he's that kind of a player. I think he should be okay. He should be he should come back in form. And I think now coming to Mitchell Starc, I think they should be very happy that he's in this kind of a form right now, because this is not just average form that he's showing. He's showing that he's still world class and he can still deliver it at any stage. So that's Mitchell Starc for you.
Let's go quickly to that batting lineup of SRH, because I've got one more question to ask you. I mean, when a team scores 113 for 10,
Yeah.
there's not much that you can discuss about it. But if we go through their batting order, there we have it. We know what Abhishek Sharma and Travis Head have done all tournament for them. Nitish Kumar Reddy there with a few runs. He played a few important knocks for them. Henrik Klassen has had a decent season. Probably a better first half than a second half of IPL 2024. But the one name that stands out for me there is Aiden Markram, and I just want to get your thoughts on this. You have a player like Glenn Phillips who's sitting on the sidelines. You've played 17 games. It's not 2, 4, 8, 10, 17 games, and you haven't given Glenn Phillips a single game when someone like Markram was clearly struggling throughout the tournament. I mean, I know he's got about some 200 odd runs this year at an average of about 27, 28. The strike rate's not been great as well. This is not the Aiden Markram that plays in the South Africa T20 comp. Do you think Glenn Phillips might be disappointed not to get a go in this tournament?
I think any player would feel disappointed if he's going back without playing a single game. And I think this management, they back Aiden Markram a lot, because again, he's a part of their South SA20 team as well. And I think he has delivered for them in that tournament. So I think it's that extra trust that they had on him. Also, it tells a lot about that trust factor, because he was not in great form, but they still backed him to deliver in the knockout games, knockout phase. Normally, we don't see that. Normally, once you move on from an overseas player in the league stages, normally teams don't like to go back to that player at the back end. So I think this was an exception, and I think it comes because of the trust factor that they had. Now coming to Glenn Phillips, I don't think that they see him as a number 3 or number 4 player, because they needed somebody to play at number 3, at number 4. I think probably that's the only logic that I can derive from this. Otherwise, I think Glenn Phillips had his case to play at least 3 to 4 games, because he's somebody who can play at number 4, number 5, and can give them enough runs. But I think in my opinion, they felt that they already have that angle covered with Henrik Klassen, so they needed a solid batter, somebody who could give stability at number 3 or at number 4. I think that's the only logic that I can derive. That's why they trusted him. But I think sometimes you just have to look at all your options, and you just have to trust that the players that you had, because Glenn Phillips has been with them like for I think now a couple of years at least. He has been there for at least
It's
from
third season now with them.
third season after the mega. They signed him in mega auction, in fact. So I think I mean I mean, it's not a question of ability. I think I think in my opinion, they were just thinking about tactics, and I think that they didn't feel that he fits into those tactics. But he's a solid player. I mean, we will see a lot of him in the World Cup.
Absolutely. One last point on the batting order. Is it just a case of top heavy, got all the runs from the top, and whenever the openers struggle to give them a start, there wasn't just enough fire in that middle order,
Yeah,
apart from Henrik Klassen,
yeah,
to kind of resurrect an innings and build a score.
yeah. I mean, even Henrik Klassen, he tapered off a bit at the back end, like you said, and so they were relying on their top two to give them runs. Now Rahul Tripathi, if you remember his innings versus RCB. Oh, sorry, it was against Rajasthan. So I think even in that game, it was Rahul Tripathi's inning which made a lot of difference for them at the top. Today it didn't happen. So again, they wanted somebody to give them that give them that punch from the top three. And once it went to Aiden Markram and Nitish Kumar Reddy, it was just too much to handle for them because the pressure was already on. So I think they they missed somebody like they missed a solid top order batter there because both Abhishek Sharma and Travis Head, they sort of again they sort of went out of form in the at the back end. So that everything comes down to then Rahul Tripathi. Again, Rahul Tripathi didn't have the best of the seasons, but at the back end he looked better. But I think it was case like Rajasthan Royals who sort of lost the momentum at the back end. Similarly, SRH, the top order, sort of lost the momentum towards the business end. And I think that's something they will think and they will try to correct in the next seasons.
Right, if we look at the KKR bowling lineup, completely different picture to the batting lineup because everyone who's come in has bowled well, has picked up a wicket. If you can see right there, Mitchell Stark with 2 for 14, Vaibhav Arora 1 for 24, Harshit Rana 2 for 24, Sunil Narayan again absolute banker, 4 overs 1 for 16 there in the middle. Andre Russell, big Dre Russ, picking up 3 for 19, and then Varun Chakravarti 1 for 9. So everybody's picked up wickets,
Yeah.
everybody's kept the runs down. It was just relentless pressure from the first over until the last.
Yes. I mean, complete bowling performance. I mean, this bowling card, six bowlers have bowled, and everyone have their name is on the wickets list. Uh, Economies are also looking good. Andre Russell, like every time, like he's, he has now picked up his first wicket in his first over. Like I don't know the exact number, but I think he has done it almost every other game. We know the stat about Trent Bolt that he picks up wicket in his first over, in the first over of the game. But Andre Russell with semi oldish balls, somewhere he comes and bowl at somewhere around ninth or 10th over. He still picks up that wicket in that over, and I don't know I don't have the logical explanation, but he's somebody who is just coming in and picking up wickets. Somebody like I mean, this is Andre Russell that that we were missing in from last few seasons because he was having injury issues and everything. But I think now it looks like everything is sorted. It looks like the old Andre Russell is back.
Yeah, I mean, uh, just from a point of view of looking at the game, how it panned out, because we saw in the last game that Sunrisers Hyderabad batted first. They got about 170 on the board, and then it turned out to be enough.
Yeah,
Actually, it turned out to be more
more
than
than
enough
enough. Yeah,
on that wicket because we saw that the wicket was gripping, it was turning. But 113 was
yeah,
never going to be enough. Like you needed a lot more than that. They were about 50, 60 short on that
yeah,
wicket.
yeah,
And then the run chase was just going to be a walk in the park, like it absolutely was. Because how many overs did KKR take to knock off those runs? I think it was somewhere in the 11th over.
yeah.
There we have it, 10.3, 10 and a half overs, done, dusted, absolutely finished. And Venkatesh Iyer, coming there, one down, no pressure at all about the run rate or the scorecard or scoreboard pressure, as we say it, just playing his shots and making sure he gets them over the line.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was just a formality that they had to do because this was the lowest total in the IPL final, and I think, like you said, they were at least 50 to 60 runs short. Because in a final, I think you can still defend 10 or 20 runs if you are below par 10 20 runs. You can still defend because there's always that pressure of runs on the board in the final. We have seen teams defending 128, 129 in the final, and even I think somewhere around 140, 160, 150 was defended. So I think, in my opinion, but again, the kind of bowling attack SRH have this season, like we discussed before, that they have scored 287, 277, but they have also conceded close to 250 in the same game. So that tells you that the bowling attack was not exactly at par with KKR's, but so they needed those runs. They needed their batters to score those runs, and once that didn't happen, they were never going to defend that. It was very unlikely for them to defend that total.
Yeah, if you look at the bowling card, it's got a sorry picture there because unlike what we saw in KKR's bowling card, only 2 wickets picked up. Everybody went for runs, and that can happen when you're defending such a small total and the opposition doesn't have any pressure on them. They do take you to the cleaners. So 12.5, 14.5 for Natarajan. I mean, how often do we see that? He's been probably their bowler of the tournament so far, and he got taken to the cleaners as well. Yeah, nobody recovering, but just not enough runs on the board. One quick question though on that, on the both teams actually, because one interesting observation is that we had 2 teams who played the final. Not one player from either team, Indian player I mean, is part of India's squad of 15 for the T20 World Cup. Um, do you think that's just a coincidence, or do you think if we should be reading something more into it because this is the sign of things to come?
I think Rinku Singh is a part of the reserves. He's not a part of the team.
Yep, I'm talking about the 15 though.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
from SRH, I think Natarajan had his case. So I think it was between Khalil and Natarajan for that extra spot. But nobody in that 15. I think it's just a case of it's just a coincidence in my opinion, because I think I mean KKR they have quality Indian. They have quality Indian core. They have Varun Chakravarti. They have all the batters, Indian batters, including Rinku. So I think sometimes it can happen. I mean, if you take a look at this team, and then if you store it somewhere, and if you then take a look at it again after 2026 World Cup maybe, then you will probably find 2 or 3 players from this KKR team will be that they will be part of that World Cup side. I mean, same thing can happen about SRH as well. Abhishek Sharma, all those guys, Nitish Kumar Reddy, quality all rounder. So I think these teams have quality players, but I think maybe it's just a coincidence, and maybe too early for some players. But I think in next World Cup you will probably see 3 to 4 guys from the both teams.
It also kind of sheds light on the fact that sometimes you can have a team full of superstars.
Yeah.
You might not get the desired results, but you can have a lot of unsuperstar like players, who come and do their job and, don't get noticed too much, but they can play together as a unit, like we've seen both these sides play right throughout the tournament and can deliver the results. And no better example than KKR itself, because every piece of the puzzle that they had brought something to the 11. I mean, even someone like, I just look at their team and I think even someone like Ramandeep Singh, not we've seen him in previous seasons. He got traded around by other teams, but they seem to have found a role for him. They seem to have found a spot for him, and he brings something to the 11. He's not just there to fill up the numbers. He actually genuinely brings something, and that's been the story of KKR so far. That every piece has done its job, and every piece has added something to kind of enhance their performances.
I mean, KKR, they were probably the most settled unit, both batting and bowling wise. They didn't have Nitish Rana, so they played with Ankrish. That's it. So they backed Ankrish, and they didn't go to somebody else, because when he stopped firing. So they just backed him, and they knew that once Nitish Rana will be back, they will just swap him with Ankrish. Similar to Phil Salt, he kept playing. He had a rough start. He kept playing. Once he was out, they knew they had to just back. They had to trust Gurbaz, and that's it. I mean, similar to all the players, they had typical roles in mind. And I think if you look at the number of players that KKR used this season, they will be probably in last 2 or 3. I mean, they have used the least amount of, probably second least number of players this season. The reason for that is they knew their players, they knew their core, and they just sort of backed their players to do the job. I mean, if you look at Mumbai Indians and all the teams finishing at the bottom, you will realize that they have actually played way too many players this season. That is because they didn't have a settled 11. That is because they didn't know what their best 11 was. But KKR, they always knew what they were doing. I mean, credits to their management and what they were. They just had a full idea of what they were doing.
Well, that's the story from the final, but a couple of other questions to discuss. Since we are at the end of the tournament, Virat Kohli winning the orange cap, we've spoken at length about him and how he's changed his game. Harshal Patel winning the purple cap, lot of eyebrows raised once Punjab Kings bought him for the amount of money that they bought him at, and he's also proved a point with the wickets. But one quick question for you around Team India's coach, because we know that the job is currently advertised. We've got lots of people applying. There's lots of speculations, lots of names coming in and out. Is Gautam Gambhir now the front runner to be Team India's coach?
I think it also depends on who else is applying, and it also depends on if he wants to be there. Because the thing with this job is that it's a full season job. I mean, with IPL, you know that you will be there with the team for 3 months, or at 3 to 4 months, not 3 months, because you have to prepare, and they start preparing from January. So I think it's a 4 to 5 months job, whereas Team India's job is going to be for close to 10 months. It's going to be for 10 months. So I think it also depends on the what the individual wants. A lot of individuals will actually prefer to have an IPL coach's role because of this factor. But I'm sure that Gambhir, that he basically dreams of. I'm very sure that at some point he would like to be India's coach. I don't know if he has applied. I don't know if he will be picked, but I'm sure that the kind of personality that he has, I'm very sure that he will like to get that job at some point in his career. Now, later, we don't know. But I think personally, I would love to see somebody like Gambhir in that role, mainly because of his tactical acumen, the way he handles the entire team. I mean, just look at this KKR team. They were playing as a team. They were playing as a unit, and they had each other's back. So this is what you want, from a team, because it's not just 11 individuals. It's a full team. So I think that's what we saw from KKR. So in my opinion, I think he's a good fit. Don't know if it will happen, or if he is preferring that job at the moment. But what do you think about Gambhir, or if Gambhir is not picked, then do you think there any Indian who can actually, because VVS, and I think what I've heard is that VVS is not in the reckoning. I don't know if it's true, but let's assume that if VVS and Rahul Dravid are not applying, and let's assume that Gambhir is also not applied, then which individual, I think Indian individual, would you prefer at this time?
I think Ashish Nehra's got a good case because he's been with
Yeah.
GT, so he's delivered results with them. He's played international cricket recently. He's got the respect of all the players that played with him, and the youngsters as well.
Yeah.
And he's shown that he can actually deliver results. So I think Ashish Nehra must be in the mix. I don't know whether he's applying or
Yeah.
not. Um, an interesting thing about Gambhir is I don't know whether he is contesting the Lok Sabha elections this time or not,
No,
because
no,
he is a sitting MP,
no, no.
or
He,
is
I
he
think,
not?
no. I think he has now called off on his career. I still have to confirm this, but I think he is not. He's no longer active in his political career. I think he is now fully into cricket, back into cricket.
Well, if that is the case, then yeah, his chances look really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, apart from Ashish Nehra, Gautam Gambhir, VVS Lakshman, as you said, I think the only a couple of other names that come to mind are some domestic coaches who are there. I mean, Chandrakant Pandit has been, doing a lot of good. Let's not forget he is still the coach of KKR, and we talk about Gautam Gambhir so much, but Chandrakant Pandit is actually the coach. Gautam Gambhir is the mentor. So yeah, I mean, from that point of view, I think he's got the credentials. You look at a couple of other domestic coaches as well who've done well, um, and yeah, there could be a mix of people. On the international front, I think Justin Lango's already said he's not
Yeah.
interested. Ricky Ponting's already said he's not interested. I was very surprised that India didn't kind of think of getting Gary Kirsten back, because if Pakistan have managed to get him back, he was one of India's best coaches when he was part of that setup. So I was surprised that Pakistan managed to scoop him up, and I'm surprised India didn't ask him the question. But maybe they did, and maybe he's declined. We never know what happens. But yeah, and again, someone like a Stephen Fleming, who's been with Chennai Super Kings for so long, we all know how good a cricketing brain he is. But then again, just probably not wanting the level of commitment that is required for that role, because it's a full-time job, whereas the IPL is a 2-month gig. And of course, there's probably a month before and a month during the year that you have to work on the auction and tactics and all of that. But still, I don't think Team India job is a lot harder than coaching an IPL team. So yeah, we'll see. Wait and watch and see what happens in that space.
Yeah,
Anything else to discuss before we call it a night? Because this is our last show
yeah.
um, of this series. It's been great, bringing it all together and sharing it with our viewers and listeners. Um, we will be doing more content in the future. Don't have to wait long. In a week's time, the World Cup starts. Me and Sarvesh haven't actually had a chance to sit and talk about what we might be doing during the World Cup, so I won't promise anything. But yeah, we are certainly keen to do more content. Anything from you, Sarvesh?
No, I think it was a great tournament. Uh, I mean, scores of 280, 287, 277, and everything. We saw everything. I think even from a neutral's perspective, I think it was a great tournament. KKR winning their third trophy, and this has come after 10 years. So I think even the KKR fans should feel happy. Talking about SRH fans, I think their team did a tremendous job. I think reaching final in a 10 team tournament is not easy, and they have defeated some of the top teams to reach there. I mean, it's a good season for them as well, and I think they should take a lot of positives from this season going forward, because they were not doing well before the season, and now suddenly they were into final. So I think a lot of credit should be given to their think tank as well. So I think, yeah, KKR SRH did a good job. Again, Rajasthan RCB also had their movements. So I think overall, from neutral's perspective, it was a good tournament. And yeah, I mean, now we'll go into mega auction, and now nobody knows what's going to happen there.
Yeah, some of the things, interesting stuff is that we want to see how many players they can retain, what's the mix of
Yeah,
Indian versus overseas players. So that all will decide.
yeah,
Yeah, but as far as IPL 2024 is concerned, as I said, KKR champions, SRH runner-up, and yeah, that's all that we have for you from this Nicometer podcast. Do keep watching our space, because as I said, in the future we will be doing a lot more content. If you haven't subscribed, do that. Great chance to do, and give us some feedback on IPL 2024. And if you enjoyed it, yeah, give us some feedback on that front as well. But until next time, this is Rahul Patel, Sarvesh Utpat, saying thank you very much for listening and watching, and we've loved doing this for you. Thank you.